Stay frosty and head over to EasyMut.com for the cheapest MUT coins on the market. And when I say cheapest, I mean it. We're talking 1 million coins for around $40. Use code DIRECTOR for 5% off. Yo, what up, brothers? It's the Director. Chargers fans, it's been a pretty solid offseason for the Chargers so far, right? We went out and got Corey Lindsley. We signed guys like Rashawn Slater and Asante Samuel. But still, I think some Chargers fans are kind of scratching their heads wondering, what are we going to do with that $20 million that we have in our back pocket? I think a lot of us were hoping we'd go after a player like Julio Jones or maybe sign some more high-caliber free agents over the offseason. What are we doing? Why are we saving $20 million? Well, I do think an opportunity has arisen for the Chargers to maybe put that money to really good use and honestly solve a position of need problem for this Chargers team for the foreseeable future. And of course, I'm talking about this man, Stephon Gilmore. Not Stephon Gilmore. What's funny is that I was actually preparing a video for Stephon Gilmore, and then some even bigger news kind of dropped when I was like, whoa, if there's ever a move that the Chargers make this offseason, I hope it's this one. Go get Xavien Howard from the Miami Dolphins and turn this secondary into a top 3 in the NFL, Chargers. Make no mistake, guys, that's the kind of impact an Xavien Howard could have on the Los Angeles Chargers DB group. I'm not even kidding. If you guys watch the Miami Dolphins for the past several seasons, I don't know how many of us took them seriously until last year. Last year, all of a sudden, it's like they're getting a turnover a game. All of a sudden, people are thinking about the Miami Dolphins as their first defense off the board in fantasy football. Really crazy the kind of impact that Xavien Howard had on his team last season. I think the biggest reason the Miami Dolphins were so lethal last year was because of their defensive backs. Byron Jones, Xavien Howard, these guys were just causing turnovers like crazy. I'll give you guys the number here in a little bit. It's actually kind of insane. And the thought of adding a player like that to the Chargers, oh my God, it gets me so excited. There's been rumors. Again, I was thinking about Stephon, and then these reports started to pop up. He's not at training camp. He's possibly requesting a trade. He could be on his way out from Miami. Guys, Tom Telesco, Brandon, make sure that you guys are at least, reviewing the paperwork and considering this, because this could be not only a great move for this season, but for many seasons to come. That's why this is probably a better trade than Stephon Gilmore. So before we do get started and get into the nitty-gritty of this, guys, hit us up with a like and sub. If you do enjoy this content, small amount of time you guys take to hit the like, sub, and bell notification helps me out a lot. Seriously, that YouTube algorithm is a tough nut to crack. Could certainly use your help in that department. With that, guys, let's get into this one. Lights, camera, action. Xavien Howard to the Los Angeles Chargers. Why it could happen. Oh, man, I'm in such support for this idea, man. I'm hoping the Chargers are really paying attention here. Xavien Howard. I'm going to throw you guys a wild stat right here. This is one of the biggest playmakers in the NFL. Over 18% of his targets in coverage resulted in a pass breakup or interception, leading all cornerbacks, especially in the interception department. Oh my God. Imagine throwing that in the mix with Derwin James, Michael Davis, Chris Harris, and the brand new Asante Samuel. This Chargers team needs to help their turnover numbers a lot. And why not bring in the best turnover machine at the cornerback position in football last season to help the Chargers in that department? Now, really quickly, the only reason that these rumors are starting to surface, the reason that this is kind of in my crosshairs, is because he's holding out a training camp. It seems that it's contract related. Maybe, because at this point, you have to remember that he's actually not the highest paid cornerback, even on his team. That would be Byron Jones. I'm thinking more specifically comes down to guaranteed money. And that's why there are talks that maybe the Miami Dolphins are looking to move on from him, grab some honestly pretty good pick compensation, and then free up a lot of money in the process as well. And this is something that's kind of been boiling for a while. 3 months ago, this article was posted. Miami Dolphins fans need to prepare for an Xavien Howard trade. This has kind of been something that they've been paying attention to for a while. And that's why I think there's a legitimate possibility he's moving on from Miami. But I'm really hoping the Chargers all of a sudden throw their names in the hat, because this could be one of the biggest moves for them this offseason, maybe even bigger than a Julio Jones. We'll get into that in a minute. Now, taking a look at what you're getting from an Xavien Howard if you were to trade for him this season, guys, like I said before, double-digit intercept, 10 interceptions in one season is ridiculous. You add on top of that 20 passes defended, 51 combined tackles, and a forced fumble. This guy was a turnover machine. And Chargers fans, I think the Chargers, one of the biggest stats they need to improve this season is their turnovers. They have not been a very turnover heavy team for a long time, and a player like Xavien Howard is really the kind of person that can shift that stat, shift that mentality, bring in a Brandon Staley system that's very aggressive in that department. And I really feel like Xavien Howard is the man with the plan to do so. Not only that, though, the Chargers specifically do still have a need at cornerback. Of course, we went and got Asante Samuel Jr. I'm very excited for his future, but he is a rookie. You know, we do have Michael Davis on the roster still, who's pretty solid, and Chris Harris Jr., but Chris Harris Jr. is likely on his way out next season. What you get from an Xavien Howard is not only an immediate impact this season, but next season when Chris Harris Jr. likely departs, we still have a very strong cornerback room. A cornerback room that I'm going to add is all on contract for what, the next 3 or 4 seasons. That window of opportunity where you want to load up on players, they're already on contract signed, set and forget. Cornerback is set for a long time, man. And that's the kind of thing I want to see from the Chargers as far as the cornerback position, because it does still need help. Because still, one of the biggest things that I'm concerned about this season with the Chargers is depth, and more specifically the defensive back position. I mean, Derwin James, super excited to have him back, but I hope he stays on the field. The Chargers cornerbacks, they're all great, but I hope they stay on the field. After the top 3 that we have now, we've got guys like Brandon Faison, I think, and Trevon Campbell. You know, maybe they could step up with Brandon Staley's system, but I don't know if I want to bet on that right now in this window of opportunity where honestly the Chargers should really be looking to at least make a playoff berth, right? And a guy like Xavien Howard could certainly come in as the number 1 cornerback, add some depth, and then add like a future proof for the future seasons after guys like Chris Harris Jr. make their departure. It makes a lot of sense, because you got to remember, Xavien Howard's only 27 years old. He's just now hitting his prime. 10 interceptions, 20 passes defended. This is the kind of part in a time in a cornerback's career that you really need to pay attention, because we may be looking at the number 1 cornerback in 2021, 2022, and beyond. You never know. These kinds of numbers don't happen very often, and it does signal something very significant for the future. So let's talk a little bit about how much he's going to cost, right? The Chargers at this point, like I said before, $20 million in cap space, top 10 in the NFL. Let's go out. Let's spend that money. We got our quarterback. Let's make sure we're putting that to good use. Put this team in the best position possible to make a playoff push, right? But how much is Xavien Howard going to cost against our books? That's the beautiful part right now. And again, this is likely to change. But currently, the Miami Dolphins have this man under contract for around $12 million a season. The man with 10 picks last season, $12 million a season. That's kind of unheard of, right? And this is likely where the contract dispute with the Miami Dolphins is right now. I think he's going to want more guaranteed money, because what, right now he's got like 2.8 or something ridiculous. You guarantee a lot of that money, maybe that incentivizes him to stay in Miami. If you don't, maybe a team like the Chargers is willing to swoop in there, grab that contract, and maybe even give him a little bit more money, because we can afford it. We're in a position right now where we can definitely afford to extend a guy, or not extend, but even give a higher financial incentives to a guy like Xavien Howard. And I think that was a really, really smart decision for the Chargers. And honestly, guys like Jalen Ramsey who are getting paid $20 million a season, I don't see the contract being that ridiculous, but I see maybe a higher number with more guarantees for a guy like Xavien if he were to come to the Chargers, which again, we could afford. Guys, I know a lot of Chargers fans were hoping for names like Julio Jones this offseason, myself included. Again, we're in this window of opportunity. A guy like Julio Jones could really push this team over the top. I think a trade for Xavien Howard could end up being a bigger splash than even Julio Jones. Does that sound crazy? Not really. Julio Jones, a little bit long in the tooth, right? He would have been great for this year, next season, maybe the season after that. But with a guy like Xavien Howard, you're talking about a top 3 cornerback for the next 3-4 seasons. He's young, 27 years old. And I think, again, it brings a huge playmaker to a position of need for the Chargers, not just this season, but seasons to come. I think it could be a bigger splash than Julio Jones, guys. I really, really do. So really quickly, we got to talk a little bit about, realistically, what would this actually cost? I think compensation-wise, if you're going after an Xavien Howard, you really need to think in the realm of first-round pick, right? At least a first-round pick is what's going to cost to trade for an Xavien Howard. Which, again, if we're talking about positions of need, in the 2022 draft, I could definitely see the Chargers targeting a cornerback. With the departure of Chris Harris Jr., I think that might be the position that they actually go after in the first round. Why not bring a guy in that's already proven and broken out, that's going to have, this talent within Justin Herbert's rookie contract immediately? I think it's worth that first round pick. But I do think it's going to cost a little bit more than that. I think it's going to cost additional picks, maybe even a player. You never know. But I do also think that the Chargers have so much cap, not just this season, guys. Even if we were to extend Derwin James and sign Xavien Howard, we'd have a stupid amount of money to spend in 2022. I think we could supplement whatever player that we would get in the first round with a big free agent pickup next season because, again, we can just afford to do it. Chargers fans, what world do we live in? The Chargers can afford to really do whatever they want. And I think bringing in Xavien Howard, forfeiting that first-round pick next season, and then supplementing that with a free agent, I think that could work. I honestly think that could work. The other thing we have to talk about a little bit is the money. Now, the only con I can see in this is that maybe he does want to get paid closer to a Jalen Ramsey, which is a little bit riskier because Jalen Ramsey's been more consistent at the position than Xavien Howard. Be it Xavien Howard has a lot of potential to continue what he did last season, there's more of a guarantee with a guy like Jalen Ramsey. Still, if they were to give him a raise in pay, I would guesstimate somewhere around 16, 17 million a season. Definitely lower than Jalen Ramsey, but give him more guaranteed money, which is probably what he's looking for. Now, finally, what are the likeliness of this actually happening? What's the percentage that I think Xavien Howard's actually going to move on from the Miami Dolphins? Well, I think that Coach Flores of the Miami Dolphins really, really loves this player. Okay, if I'm the Miami Dolphins, if I'm Flores, I don't think that I let Xavien Howard out of my sight. He's one of the biggest reasons why that defense was so lethal last season. They too have a rookie quarterback in Tua Tagovailoa. What their plans are with him in the future, I don't know, but they should be able to afford to keep him as well. I don't know, man. If I'm the Dolphins, I find a way to make this work. I get him his money, and I make sure that that pivotal piece of my defense stays on the roster for the 2021 year. However, that being said, the recent rumors have surfaced for a reason, right? These rumors are legitimate because he wants more money. There have been talks about him getting traded out. So I would say, at least to me as an NFL fan, there's maybe a 20% chance that he's actually traded because of these rumors that I'm hearing. And to the Chargers more specifically, the percentage would go a little bit lower because I'm sure every team in the NFL would want a piece of Xavien Howard on that defense. So in the comment section below, this is where you guys come in. Let me know if you guys would be excited about an Xavien Howard coming to the Chargers. Would you be willing to give up a first-round pick and likely more to get him on this team? And is this the splash move that would make you excited for the 2021 Chargers and beyond? Well, guys, thank you so much for joining me. This has been The Director. If you liked this content, hit us up with a like and sub on your way out. Would be much appreciated. We'll see you next time. And as always, bolt up and stay frosty.